A disagreement you have with the show is age gap relationships.
Yes.
You're against them for a multitude of reasons. Why is that?
Because of the natural imbalance that can happen within a age gap relationship for both genders. Naturally, someone who's much older is going to have more education, they're going to have more life experience, they're going to have a bigger income, and because of that imbalance, there is a higher risk for abuse or manipulation. That's why I'm against them. And I will add that I am a child of an age gap relationship. My father is 19 years older than my mother. And I have several family members that are in age gap relationships, and I have seen them negatively be affected by them.
Should your parents get divorced?
Yes. My mother was 21 when she divorced my father.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, okay. Not were they divorced? Would you recommend that all of your friends who are in age gap relationships get a divorce?
I think it depends per relationship and the amount of age that the gap is. So, for example, if it's 10 years or younger, that's
So
fine.
let's say you had one that are in a 15-year age gap relationship, a friend. They've been married for 5 years, and they have 2 kids together. Would you recommend that they go ahead and get divorced?
If the woman is being any kind of abused or isn't...
Well, no, she says that she absolutely adores him, and he says the same thing, and they have kids together, and they seem happy. Should they get a divorce?
Then I wouldn't recommend a divorce if they're happy.
Then age gaps themselves are not the problem then.
I would still say it's a problem just because of all of the reasons I listed earlier of like the older person having a power imbalance.
What is the power imbalance?
Like I said, they have more money, they have more life experience. It's
What if
easier
they
to
don't,
manipulate the younger person into believing, okay, I'm this perfect like partner that's going to, do all of these things for you, and then in the end, they're maybe like not paying all the bills. You're trying to make sure that you're staying home.
But can't that happen in an age-similar relationship?
Okay, I can give you a perfect example. My mother immigrated here with my father at 18, pregnant with me. My father was the provider. My father went out and worked. But a lot of times, the lights would go out because he wasn't paying the electric bill. He was gambling. My mother, it wasn't until my mother started speaking full English and was able to go get a job that we were able to reliably stay in a home.
What does that have
hold on.
anything to do?
Those things could manifest themselves in an equal age relationship.
Well, that's also culturally informed. So they were coming from which nation?
Lebanon.
Yeah, so there it's very
Where age
common.
gap relationships are very
Yeah,
common.
not only very common, but so are incestuous relationships, right?
Yes.
Also very common.
Cousins get married there.
First cousins.
Yes, yes, they
So
do.
the thing is like the idea of having the cultural information, being culturally informed. Don't you think that here in the United States, there's a huge distinction between, they're 16, 17, 18 in Iran and they're marrying a 30-year-old because that's part of how they keep legacies together with their first cousins or whatever and various things like this. And I live in the United States and can freely choose who I'm with, and I have very different cultural information.
But those kinds of marriages happen here too.
No,
17-year-olds get married,
Yeah, but
18-year-olds
they're not
get married.
usually- they're not arranged marriages.
I personally know a 19-year-old that got married to a 53-year-old.
Okay.
What's the issue
And they
with
were
that?
they were constantly boasting their age gap relationship, and they ended up getting divorced.
Yeah,
and
but
she
let's say
ended
they
up getting
didn't.
verbally and emotionally abused.
But let's say they didn't end up getting
Control
divorced.
imbalance.
Hang on.
Yeah, control
But let's say
imbalance.
they didn't end up getting divorced, and let's say there was no emotional abuse, and let's say they had 2 kids, and let's say right now they were still happy. What would your issue then? Would you have an issue with it? With the age
No,
gap
because
itself?
for me, my issue with the age gap comes with the power imbalance.
So
and
your
the-
issue's not with
the-
age gaps, it's with power imbalances.
Yes and no, because there's still that maturity level that you reach when
But
you
it's
get
not-
to a certain
yeah.
age, and
Life
then
experience.
But it's not inherent to the thing, right? So anytime I ask you what's the actual issue with the age gap, you point to things that have nothing to do with the age gap itself. So if it's the case that you had an age gap where the power was not imbalanced from your view,
She's saying
then
life
that age gap,
experience.
Right.
Well, but even then, you could have like a 30-year-old shut-in guy who marries a fucking 19-year-old who's traveled with her parents all over the world. Then the experience seems equally yoked or similarly
but
yoked.
she's not emotionally mature because her prefrontal cortex has not fully developed.
Then why is she allowed to vote?
That's different than entering a marriage.
Well,
That's how far
Affecting
different.
the outcome of
you
far
can
different,
vote.
because if I
You can
enter a
vote on who
marriage-
can vote, or you can vote on who can get married, but you can't get married.
No, I mean, you can get married, but I would think that it would be to a detriment or inappropriate for an 18-year-old to get married to a 30-year-old or a 50-year-old.
Yeah,
Because again,
But I don't-
there's
I don't-
not just life experience, there's education, there's emotional maturity.
Yeah, but do you see, like, the conflation you're doing here? An 18-year-old, let's say she gets married to a 31-year-old guy. That to you, no go, right? That's
Yes.
like no go.
Yes.
Can the 18-year-old, though, override the vote of the 31-year-old guy?
Override?
Yeah, meaning she can nullify his vote by just voting against
I wouldn't
him.
agree that. I mean, I would say they both deserve the right to vote.
They both have the right, but she
Yes.
can vote against him, which nullifies his vote.
I guess.
Yeah. So
Yes.
so how is she informed enough to do that? She's informed enough to vote against him for all social issues in society, but is not informed enough to date him.
Because I think that relationships and voting for a society are two different
Yeah, one's way
things.
more important, and that would be
One-
voting for societal
It
issues, right?
involves a bunch of people
But
to override each
being
other's
in a
votes.
relationship,
This is only two people.
Right, that's
Very
right.
affected.
But being
It's
in a
only two
relationship, you
people,
put your
but
body
now
and your
you're letting an
mental health at risk.
18-year-old vote in my interests, but at the same time saying that it would be somehow immoral if somebody my age dated one. And it's like, wait, what? That's bizarre. Not saying that I would. I'm just pointing out this hypocrisy, or not hypocrisy, but contradiction.
You guys aren't coming together
It
as a
would be-
unit, though. You're
Yeah,
just
but
like
what would that have to-
intermeshing in society.
Yeah, but the thing is like if you can vote against my interests, right, then we're considering you the same type of adult that I am. And so if that's the case, if you're being imbued with the power of being the same kind of adult as me, then suddenly this saying that, hey, I'm going to infantilize women or infantilize young men and tell them that they can't do X or shouldn't do X, that seems silly to me. It's like, are they adults or are they not adults?
They're adults, but they live and they learn. And if they come across a man that's not a predator, then, you know, that just because he's older doesn't make him a predator. Him acting like a predator makes him a predator at that point.
But that's true at
They're
any
18,
age.
they
My
can
fear
But isn't that
consent.
true at any age?
relationships have all these different
Yeah, isn't that true at
circumstances
any
as well.
age?
That-
Like women at 21
No, there's
dating a
real
21-year-old should
predators
avoid 21-year-old
that
predators.
target minors, and at
We're
18
not
they have
talking
that
about
choice
Sure.
to go and
pedophiles.
date an older man. And if they do so, there might be consequences. It might be great. They might get abused.
There's
At the
also
end of the day,
predatory 18-year-old
that's not
OF girls
every
who
single-
target lonely men. Like, so what?
That's
So
way.
it's like, so
that's-
what?
That is a way lower number of people. Predatory
Based
men.
on what? No, based. You said predatory men who are specifically targeting 18-year-olds to date them.
So
Does
didn't
that-
say 18
by the
younger
way-
women?
Wait, what?
Yeah, you're targeting an 18-year-old to date her. That makes you predatory.
No, what makes you a predator is if it's not consensual. At 18,
Right.
they can consent. That
Of
is
course.
their right to do so.
That's my
Yes,
whole point.
They
We're not
are being
saying non-consensual relationships.
How do you?
Yeah, I'm just saying
be highly
what would make him a
manipulative,
predator.
though.
They
So
can
what
be
would make a
manipulated.
30-year-old guy a predator for
Same
wanting to
age
date
can be
18-year-olds then?
They
Yeah,
can.
Because
I
they
can
know that
manipulated
they have
at
less
any
experience
single
with
age,
dating.
yes.
more.
Hold
It's
on.
easier to
You
get
wanna
them
go-
to
stop.
do
You
what they
wanna-
want to do.
Go ahead.
So I think Michaela Peterson actually made a tweet about this the other day. It went pretty viral. I think it's just cope for older women.
Totally.
Like being jealous of the younger women that
agree.
are still fertile and desired by older
True.
men.
I
Don't
disagree.
agree entirely.
And Yeah, I know.
I've been approached by a 20-year-old that wanted
Hold
to
on.
date me
Stop.
so badly.
Stop. Let her finish her point.
Okay, I think I lost my train of thought. But basically,
That's why we don't want people interrupting. If you can.
Fertility.
Michaela Peterson.
Well, you were referencing Michaela Peterson.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So
Welcome.
basically, it's not because most of the time that the men are desiring the women for their age, it's because they're desiring the traits of, like, the typical traits of a woman that age.
Not every younger woman is going to be fertile.
It's more typical.
Okay,
It's
bean
not about
soup,
fertility,
guys. Bean
You guys,
soup.
you
It's
guys
not about
out-
fertility,
this
it's
whole
about
night,
a
you guys have
multiple
been
minds.
Arguing
It's also about a lot of-
outliers,
Is
that
and it
right?
just like
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. Do you believe in the idea of like biological evolution?
Yes.
Okay. So the whole idea of evolution is to procreate, right? It's to reproduce. That's like the
Yes.
primary edict.
Yes.
So wouldn't attraction be built into that primary edict?
Yes.
Okay, so what would a man then be looking for the most based on attraction from an evolutionary standpoint to guarantee reproduction?
Childbearing hips, fertile
Young
woman.
women. Wait, young women?
I mean,
Ew.
they don't have to be
Ew,
women.
not women their own age with
What's
the same
wrong with
maturity
women that aren't
levels.
disrespecting them?
No,
Hang
I'm
on.
saying
Let me-
automatically young women, that's
yeah.
predatory sounding
Why?
as fuck.
Why is it
let's-
Not every
well,
man
hang on.
wants to
You mean
reproduce
adults?
either.
Hang on, adult women.
Like,
We're not
We
talking
can't, but
about
like when you're always
adult
looking
women.
for a young, we're talking about like much younger.
Yeah, I am
too.
talking about that too.
We're not talking
Yeah.
about like 15-years-olds. We're
No,
talking
we're
about
not. We're
adult
talking about
women.
18. We're
Yeah,
talking
so
about
we're talking
18-year-olds, which
about
I do
talking
consider
about
children.
them. We're talking about
18.
I know
18-year-olds.
that.
If you're
I know that. There's
But-
still differences.
Hang on, help me out
in
here.
your-
If
An
I'm wrong,
18-year-old
if
just
I'm
graduated high school.
hang on, if I'm
Yeah.
wrong, just help me out here.
Yeah,
Walk-
18-year-olds.
just hang on,
graduated
just
high
walk
school.
through this with me. Do you believe that evolution's true?
Yes.
Okay. Is the primary edict of evolution to reproduce? That's the
Yes.
okay. So is attraction built into reproduction? You can't reproduce
Yeah,
with
it's
people.
one of the things that
Well,
leads
hang on.
to
Well, it's the only-
reproduction, and reproduction can also happen without a relationship and marriage. But
Totally.
we're also talking in the sense of a relationship.
I'm just talking about
and
attraction.
marriage.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about attraction. Absent attraction, there's no reproduction.
Well, I'm not talking about us like we're animals right
But
now.
I'm talking about
humans.
humans. If you're not attracted to another human, you're not going to reproduce with them.
So you can't be attracted to someone your own age.
Yeah, okay, that's not what I'm saying.
Or
I'm
close to
asking.
your age?
I'm just asking you
Yeah, of
about
course you
attraction.
can.
So then, if the primary edict is to reproduce, right, and it is,
Mm-hmm.
then what do you think would be built in evolutionarily to men for who they should be most attracted to? If reproduction's the primary edict, wouldn't it be younger, fertile women?
Yeah, but
Exactly.
That's on
Exactly.
yeah, but that's just one thing, and there's so many points to it. Younger fertile women. Okay, so now you're thinking about the mother. This is the mother of my child. Is this younger fertile woman just gonna be your point of your option because she's young and fertile?
No, but
Or
it's
do you
going to
need
be a
consider
primary reason.
Things like,
Yeah, I agree.
do you need to
Look,
consider other things like
I agree with
maturity,
you.
who she
Yep.
is, her family, whatever.
I agree with you in the point
For
that
education.
that humans use logic and reason in these various. We have various capabilities. We're not just at root just pure instinct, but attraction is the primary thing that matters for the beginning of a relationship. Very difficult for women to date men they're not attracted to, and it's very difficult for men. They might screw a woman they're not particularly attracted to, but they're probably not going to date a woman that they're not attracted to at all. So attraction's the primary edict that would even start the idea of reproduction.
So you
if
chase
it's the case,
genetics.
the case that men, from your own perspective, would be attracted to younger women, of course they're going to be. Of course they are, and of course they're going to pursue that. That's what they're attracted to.
It's kind of like
And
how,
here I'll give you more evidence. When you do your makeup, or you do hair, or you get boob jobs, or you do all this various things, is that to look older?
didn't
Raise
think
your
being
hand if
young is
any
what
of you
makes
have
you
ever done any
attractive, though.
cosmetic
Maybe when you get
surgeries, makeup, anything,
real old,
so that you look older. Raise your hand. Fucking exactly.
How about to look better?
Exactly.
Just not.
Okay, but can I get back to the fact that
None of
I
you are
was,
doing it to look older.
I was asked by a 20-year-old. He wanted to be with me. He wanted to date me. I told him no.
Why do you keep going to anecdotal things?
Because
Your whole argument is, well, it happened to me, so it
Stop.
can't be right.
I'm basing my information off of experience and off of the people around me.
Off of one person's
No,
experience.
not
Wait,
one person's
hold on.
experience.
Wait, stop
Multiple
really quick.
people's
What were you saying?
experiences.
What were you saying
Which when?
when you were whispering to her like literally 5 seconds ago?
Oh, I said
What-
these are dumb arguments
What's a dumb argument?
about the whole age.
Looking
One of the last things he just said, basically. I'm
The
looking-
evolutionary part of
I'm
age
following her
gaps.
now at
Looking
this
older.
point, So
Okay, all right, whatever. Go ahead.
Okay, so I had a 20-year-old asking me to go on dates. He wanted to be my submissive. He wanted to be mine. He wanted to have sex with me. I said no
Sure.
because I know
okay.
that I have more power within the dynamic because of his youth, because of his inexperience,
What?
because of the maturity levels. I could have easily taken advantage of him and said, okay, well, this is going to be how the relationship
this
will
is gonna be
be.
hilarious.
These are my expectations of you. I want you to change this about yourself and that about yourself. And he would have done so because he wanted me so badly and
wait,
because
wait,
I'm
wait.
older.
So what's
Hold
wrong
on,
with
wait,
that?
hold on. So, okay, you're a dominatrix, is that correct?
Yes.
So you do power play in your relationships?
Yes,
is that-
ethically.
ethical.
Ethically.
What's
Yes,
unethical
but a
about
20-year-old can
20-year-old?
be in a consensual relationship with a 30-year-old.
I-
Your argument is completely
Yeah.
Yeah,
self-defeating.
they can be in a consensual relationship, but what I'm trying to say, my
Wait,
point is
stop,
that there's
stop. I believe that a vanilla age gap relationship, say like a 20-year-old dating a 30-year-old, there's way less power dynamics going on than like a 30-year-old dating a 30-year-old in a fucking dominatrix. Are you kidding me?
Okay, but
a age gap vanilla relationship
always a power
is
dynamic
going to have
Always.
way less of power plays than in the fucking dominatrix. Your whole
There's always
but
your
you-
whole stop. Your whole
So what
relationship
makes one
structure.
worse than another?
Can
Your
I-
whole relationship structure is a complete power play where you hold all the power. I understand it's consensual, but you'd have to agree that an age gap relationship are also consensual relationships. So your argument,
I'm
it's
not
just completely
saying that
ridiculous.
they're unconsensual. And what my point is,
Well-
the point I keep trying to make is that there is a natural power imbalance, and that the older person within the relationship, regardless if it's vanilla or kinky, there can be manipulation. There can be the changing.
Don't you
of
step
the
on
person.
dudes' balls? Who the fuck are you to
They're
say
begging for
anything?
it. And she does never break them.
Yeah,
She
but
never breaks
here's
the
what I
balls.
think. Here's what I
Keeps them
think.
very safe.
Hold on.
Also,
So
I want to
stop.
add, I do not
bro.
have kinky relationships with every relationship that I have.
That's totally fine, but you are a dominatrix and you do
Yes.
degradation and you do
When
all
I'm
this
asked
shit.
to, yes.
When you're asked to. However, here's my position on some of this kink stuff. Now, I think some kink stuff is, you might say that this is kink shaming. You might say that, well, it's all within the confines of consensual relationships, blah, blah, blah. I think some of these people who have this proclivity to certain kinks, I think some of them are mentally ill. So when you talk about consent, that kind of goes out the window. Like, for example, a man who wants his balls to be like smashed, that I believe is a mental illness, and I don't think consent can exist when somebody wants that degree of self-harm.
Just
So I think
masochism.
you're being sadistic, not just in a kinky way, but in a I think it goes beyond even consent. I think that's a crazy power dynamic, and you hold all the cards when you're the dom in that sort of kink relationship. And so this idea that men can consent to having their balls crushed, I think that that's mental illness. You're taking advantage of it. Most of these men pay you to do it.
They're
I
asking.
think,
She's not even
There's
asking
more
them.
ways than you
right.
assume.
I understand. So hold on. If
Can
a
I
woman
respond?
asks
She's not
me,
manipulating
can
them
I ask
to
you a
get their
question?
balls kicked.
Can I ask you a question? Would this go into the realm of criminality? If a woman consensually asks me to stab her in the pussy, is that me taking? Hold on.
She's not stabbing their balls.
Let me-
She's not stabbing their balls. You have to say, kick me in the pussy then. Don't make,
No.
make an
Where's
even
the
Crushing-
Yeah, make an equal
Is
comparison.
there a crushing ball kink?
Yes.
Where with a high heel you'll crush a man's balls?
Yes.
Yeah, so I believe this is getting into the realm of harm. And so basically, do you think a woman could consent to me stabbing her in the vagina?
We're talking about
Can she consent to
stabbing.
that? Can she consent to it?
I
She
don't
can-
agree with it,
She,
but she can.
consent to that.
Right,
yeah.
but-
It's sad.
and you should have medical background to do it in a proper place. And if she really, really, really wants to do that, then you need to figure out exactly how to do that safely. Go ahead
Well,
and do it.
I have an
How is there a
easier-
safe way to
Can I respond?
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't know. Ask a
Sure.
doctor.
It would
Of
be
course.
really great if
Yeah,
I
go
could
ahead, go
actually
ahead.
get a
Go
word
ahead.
in.
to be a doctor to say it's not safe to stab
Hang on,
a woman
let
in
her-
the
let her
vagina?
respond. Let her respond.
You can do you can do things safely. Why not?
Hang
Stab
on.
her lip.
Okay,
Hang on,
so
hang on.
for
Let her
some
respond.
people,
Safe.
Hang
for
on,
some
let her respond.
people,
Might be
receiving
wild.
pain isn't even necessarily about the pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about relinquishing control and having relief in relinquishing that control to the other person. And some people can actually transmute pain into pleasure. So even if we're talking about a guy getting his ball smashed, he might be getting off on that.
Okay, well, hang on.
Right?
Yeah, I get it.
Or even have catharsis from
I
it.
understand exactly what you're saying. I have a question for you, though. How old are you?
I'm 36.
You're 36, okay. And how long have you been a dominatrix?
I would say for about 3.5, 4 years.
Okay. Let's say that you're 26. You're 26 years old,
Okay.
and you're a dominatrix.
Okay.
Would you take on a client who is 50?
Yes.
What gives you the right to consent to that?
I would say my profession and my education.
Okay, so
If we're assuming
hang
that I have the
if
same amount of
hang
education
on,
at
so
26.
if you have the right to consent to that relationship, why wouldn't another 26-year-old?
I never said that people aren't able to consent to age gap relationships. I'm just saying that I find them to be inappropriate for the older
Got it.
person
Right.
to enter
but
into
this
an
is my
age
whole
gap
point. Right
relationship.
now, then, if there's a 21-year-old dominatrix who's a friend of yours, are there any?
Yeah.
Okay. And they have a 45-year-old client who wants to be on the other end of that relationship. Can that woman consent to him?
Yes.
Okay. What makes that consent fine, but her consent to date him not fine?
Because when we're coming into a romantic relationship, it has a lot more emotional connections
So?
and it has a longer, hopefully a long-term relationship versus maybe and it's not professional, right? So like if I'm a professional 21-year-old and I have a 45-year-old
So now you're smart.
submissive,
Yeah.
right?
So now
That's
you're
gonna-
smart enough
that's
at
gonna-
21 to make a determination about
that
professionalism.
also
She's
is a
following
comparison.
guidelines that are professional.
I get it.
There
what
is
I'm
no
saying-
comparison
but what I'm-
between a
yes.
relationship,
Yeah.
like a romantic
And a
relationship,
professional.
and a
But the
client.
fact that you think that you're emotionally mature enough to make the decision to take on a 50-year-old client as a dominatrix at 21 years old, you're informed and have enough life experience and are smart enough to do that, but are somehow not smart enough to date a man of the same age bracket, that to me is fucking
It's
bizarre.
not about being
it's not.
smart
Because
enough.
what you're doing is banking.
It doesn't mean that you're not smart
You're
enough
banking
to
on
date
experience.
that man. It means that you don't want to date that man. That's a client. There's just it's that
No,
simple.
no,
They're a
but
client,
do you
and
see-
then if you take interest in an older man,
Yeah.
and you fall in
Well,
love with an older man,
you're the same 21-year-old.
That dynamic
All
is
these
true.
facets
Like
to
it's
that relationship.
I
In
get
this
it.
relationship,
Yeah.
it's minimal.
Yeah, but you're
You're
21.
you're not reaching all of these.
Also,
different
if you're
If you're
nuances.
21 and you can accept to consent to a dominate, can you at 21 consent to sleep with a 50-year-old man?
yes,
you can, yeah.
Can you consent as a prostitute to have sex with him? Do you see a problem with that?
That is a professional.
Consent as a prostitute
that's
to have
a
sex with them?
professional transaction.
Yeah. So the woman can consent to sleep with him. The woman can consent to sleep with him for money, but the woman can't consent
She
to date
can
him.
consent.
Why would she,
of course, she
who
can
said
consent.
she can't consent to dating him?
But would you be against that same woman
I've
who
dated
you would say
40-year-olds
should not date this
perfectly
man
fine,
at that age bracket,
consensually.
sleeping with him for money?
I like age gap relationships, but I
Oh,
see.
I see.
But I see all of the implications with them. I'm not saying I fully
So would
agree
you-
with her.
Yeah, she
I
doesn't
have-
fully
I only
agree
have-
with me. We
yeah,
actually
Okay, well then
disagree on this.
back here then.
Yes.
At 21 years old, should a 21-year-old prostitute accept a 50-year-old John?
If it's that's their profession, yes. And I do want to add
Of
that
course. So
the
they're
21-year-old
experienced enough to do that, but not date the same
yeah,
50-year-old.
Because it's
Experience
way
enough to do what?
different.
It doesn't take much.
Well, the thing is, it's interesting, is like when we're talking about this dynamic, we're not talking about the action itself of doing this. We're talking about whether or not this woman is informed enough as an adult to make the decision in the first place to do this.
She should
And
be.
my argument is if she's not experienced enough to do this, right? Or if she is experienced enough to do this, then she should be experienced
Then
enough to
life will hit.
date whoever the fuck she wants. You're old
She
enough to,
can.
yeah,
she
exactly.
can.
That's my whole
I'm
point.
not
So then you
completely-
interjected on this, not me towards you.
No,
You
she was
interjected.
I see the implications.
Yeah, exactly.
She was
Makes-
saying
I
they're
have-
too young and not educated enough to consent to an older man coming on to them or not. And
Building
older
a whole
men-
life with them.
Yeah,
Private chat
the
in the
reason
future.
people have older men have always dated younger women, and to this day is still true, is that like statistically, 36 is the right age for a man to start getting married because they're starting to make more money, and more money than they've made before, and they're also like consistent and have the experience and are smart and strong, and that's like their peak to start making. But yes, they worked really hard to be 36 and have all this stuff, and now they want what they want, and they're able to take care of a woman who can be young and be fertile and have these children for them because they've worked really hard to get these things. And as a woman, I'm impressed by a man that has both those things, money and experience. And then I also think like if a man is if you're consenting. Just a second.
What about guys with vasectomies?
What about
Yeah, I mean, okay, I get it.
Older males.
Oh,
with
okay, I get that. But
vasectomies.
I'm just saying
Hold
for
on.
traditionally what people want and why they're
Holding.
doing what they're doing to get that money. I think now what I'm trying to bring it back to women is women who don't have education and don't have resources to go and educate themselves. They do exist. The majority of the world is mostly poor, okay, and uneducated. Do you think they don't deserve to have a nice life with a man that takes care of them so that they don't have to double down and work hard or expose themselves to
or end
other
up being
dangers?
prostitutes?
Shouldn't they be allowed to have the choice of a good man that wants to take care of them?
Hold on really
That's my
quick here.
question.
So just really quick, let me get a check from the whole panel here. Who's against age gap relationships? Show of hands. Who's against age gap relationships?
I
Just
guess I'm
you.
the only one.
Okay, and then
I don't
we're
know.
gonna
It depends on like the length of the
gas
size of
strong.
the age.
let's say 30-year-old dating a 20-year-old.
That's fine.
Okay, 30.
Wait. You have a sex slave, is that correct?
Yes.
What's the age of your sex slave?
I'd say he's like 3 or 4 years younger than me.
Okay.
Quick question. So you're basically saying that the problem with age gap relationships, one of them is emotional clarity and emotional maturity, right? Or like emotional,
Yes.
clarity, right? Okay. So you guys believe in post-nut syndrome, right?
Post-nut
Okay.
What
clarity?
is that?
Post-nut clarity. Sorry, post-nut syndrome.
yes.
Post-nut clarity. Yes. So, I would venture to say that a large portion of the men that are receiving services that are extreme services from people like dominatrixes and etc. are usually experiencing a form of different chemicals in their brains and different things that are causing emotional disclarity. What would you say that? Like, what would be the opposite of clarity? Confusion. Sure. Emotional confusion, where it's like they're not thinking 1,000% clearly. So how are we not conflating the two? Where it's like, okay, if this one is abusing the emotional clarity of one person, how is this one not abusing the emotional clarity of the other?
Well, they made the decisions to do those like crazy things before they were feeling all those things. That was all negotiated way before the scene, or built up to that. Even if they're like, "This is my goal to get my
But I'm saying,
nutsack
yeah, that's their goal. So like,
penetrated."
they haven't had that nut from that thing yet. The power of the male brain with the nut is absolutely insane. And like, just the thought of something happening a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks out will absolutely cloud a man's judgment, just because they know that they're going to get this specific satisfaction down the road.
I think that has more to do. So the thing with kink too, and especially like even getting your balls kicked, doesn't necessarily have to be inherently sexual. So
Right.
this
But
doesn't
often
need to
is.
relate.
I've had a client
Sure,
that
it
loved
can,
getting
but
his balls
kink
kicked,
is not
and
inherently
he did
sexual.
not come.
So this has
during those sessions.
Most of them don't orgasm during our sessions. In fact, it's rare that they
but
do.
you can absent orgasm or absent climax, can people receive sexual stimulation or absent climax?
Like, of course they can.
Yes,
So
stimulation,
stimulation.
sure.
It's
Right,
called edging.
but your argument is if they don't orgasm, ergo they.
No, that's not my argument. I'm just
That's your
saying. I'm saying
argument.
that kink is not inherently sexual.
But
and
no,
how is it
you
not
literally the
inherently
words that came out of
because
your,
you can have
hold
a
on,
kink
stop.
scene without. Sorry.
yeah, it's
The
just
words
not.
that came out of both of your mouths is when I do this particular kink, the men don't orgasm, therefore it's not sexual gratification. So?
What do you mean? I'm sorry, I'm confused. I'm just saying it has nothing to do with. I'm confused with the post-nut clarity. I'm just confused.
so
with the
the
whole
idea is just this.
post-nut clarity
Yeah.
thing.
I kind of
This
understand.
doesn't all have to do with their nut.
Yeah, I can
understand.
reduce it super quick. She's just saying that men who have not climaxed have different hormones raging in their brain, which can cause them to make decisions they would not make if it was the case that those same hormones are not raging in their brain after sex.
Yeah.
So can
if
they
it was-
climax and then make the decision?
Well,
I'm so confused.
well, no. So she's just saying, how's it not taking advantage of them? If it's the case, they may make different decisions if they didn't have those chemicals raging. Like, shouldn't they have to jerk off or something first before they agree to the contract?
That's totally
before they
fine.
agree with the contract?
They usually do. They're usually
Yeah.
messaging with us while we go over.
I'm
this
not saying it's a good
while
argument.
We go over
I'm just
this
reducing it for
negotiation,
you.
They're usually messaging with us, talking to us.
I'm just saying
and
that it's
generally
not-
they are fucking jerking
Yeah,
off.
It's not
And they are.
emotional.
Yeah.
It's not
Look at
abuse
that, I have a
in an
TTS
age gap
coming through.
relationship.
Thomas